everyone, a very good evening and welcome to the Money Show right here on ET Now. I'm Avan Dabash and with me is Avni Raja. Well, today, as promised, we have a special show where we'll be focusing on helping to celebrate World Health Day, which incidentally falls tomorrow. What we want to focus on is getting your health checks and your health insurance up to speed. Because remember, it does assume quite a bit of importance. Buying health insurance today has become a necessity, and in spite of the rising costs of medical treatments, the increased awareness for buying health insurance, people still seem to be a little bit unaware of what exactly it takes and what makes a health insurance policy a winner. So we would like to drive that fact home. So you do enjoy the tax benefits as well of a health insurance policy, but it's important to know about the policy. How do you choose the best health insurance scheme? What are the basis of your needs, etc.? All of that really seems to be important. So that's what we will be addressing with our guest who will be joining in. Sriraj Deshpande is Head Health Insurance at Future Generali India Insurance, and he is now joining in on the show to give us his view. Do we have him with us right now? Let's go straight across. Sriraj, thank you for taking time out. Unfortunately, I know you're in our Pune studios, but we're facing a bit of a glitch. So let's start off with the main topic. Health insurance, lots of benefits, but a lot of people still have not, taken the initiative to go ahead and get one. Why do you think it's the need of the hour?
Yeah, thank you, Avni. Over the years, if you see, healthcare expenses are increasing year on year. And if you look at it, it's inexorably actually increasing. And to take care of this increasing cost, which can happen, if you look at there is a large percentage of people who go below the poverty line just because of one incidence of high care cost of healthcare expenditure which occurs in the family. And therefore, it's very much required that every individual has a health insurance policy to take care of the healthcare expenditure, which could be unforeseen, which could happen at any given time.
Right. So, Sriraj, and also, of course, because of the rising costs, especially the rising cost of maintaining your health, health insurance becomes that much more important. So, let's get down sort of to the basics, if we can start over there. If you can help our viewers understand the basics of health insurance, what are the kind of features that different policies have, and, when you talk about a group mediclaim versus an individual policy, let's go through the basic details first.
Yeah, basically if you look at it, to start it, traditionally you have hospitalization expense insurance, which has been there in the country for quite some time, which actually covers the expenses incurred by an individual when he gets hospitalized, and that's the most foremost thing any individual should be having. Then apart from this, you have various other health insurance covers. You have a critical illness cover, which actually is a benefit cover, which pays a fixed amount or the sum insured on contracting of a critical illness. Now, while medical expenses policies, that is the first one which I was talking about, it takes care of the expenses a person actually incurs, which could go into today's world, it could go into, anywhere between, for a simple hospitalization, it could go to around 40,000, 50,000, or for a major cardiac surgery, could go up to 500,000, 600,000. Now, this takes care of the medical expenses. Now, what about loss of income? See, basically, when a person income generating individual, he actually suffers a major illness, critical illness, it's going to affect his income generating capacity. So it's very much required that people go in for a critical illness cover. And this takes care of, takes care of his loss of income generation. Apart from this, there are other policies which are hospi-cash policies, which pay for a fixed amount, say 5,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees per day of hospitalization. This actually supplement or complement the basic indemnity product. Now, first and foremost, every individual should be having a basic health insurance product. And second is, every earning individual should be having a critical illness product. And third is a personal accident policy, which is also in today's, if you look at it at any at the type of life every individual lives, continuously traveling, prone to so much risk. So the personal accident policies which are related to their income, this protects again loss of income to him and as well as his family. This covers a person due to death due to accident, or permanent total disability due to accident, or temporary total disability, or even a person is or he hits with an accident, he's at home for quite some time, again his loss of income is there. So it covers that part also. So these are personal accident, hospitalization and critical illness covers are basic requirements everybody should be actually covering.
All right. Shiraj, let's proceed. We've gotten quite a few viewer queries as well. Start off with Neela Bhargav, who says, both me and my husband work as employees in private companies. Can I get claim from my own company and my spouse's company if we're covered under both companies? Also, what are the advantages of sticking to one health insurance company or health insurance policy that's offered by a company for a long period of time? And I'm sure a lot of people watching would relate to this. If they are under a health insurance with one company, does it make sense? Are there advantages to stick on for the long haul? And how would you like to help Neela out?
Yeah. So to address the first question, yes, if both the employers are covering both husband and spouse in their respective group health insurance policies, which are hospitalization policies, in that case, the first claim the person has to actually lodge. These are basically indemnity policies, so whatever expenses have been incurred, the person has to choose where he would like to claim from. So either in the spouse's policy or in the self's policies, they have to claim there. Now, if the expenses actually, are more than the limit of sum insured limit of one of the policy which they have claimed for, the remaining part they can claim from the spouse's policy. So, but for one single hospitalization, you cannot, get money from both the insurers. You are actually indemnifying the person or bringing him back to making good his loss which has occurred or expenses which has occurred. So there is no question of him earning on it, but if it extends into it crosses the sum insured limit, he can claim from the other policy.
All right.
Second question. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And the second question, can you repeat that again?
The second question is, what are the advantages of sticking to one health insurance policy that's given by a company for a long period of time?
Yeah. So basically, once a person gets into a policy, if you see, most of the policies have certain waiting periods. They are waiting for a period for pre-existing diseases. They have got waiting period for certain conditions which are there, 1 year waiting period, 2 years or 4 years waiting period. So once a person sticks to a particular insurance company, he keeps on renewing that policy there. The waiting period slowly wean off. Now after a period of 4 years, he is not there in that. He is continuously there in that policy. It becomes something like, now all his expenses are going to be covered unless he has got something he had non-disclosed earlier. But today, actually, the regulations are there, portability regulations are there, which actually allow you to, port your policy from one insurer to the other. So if an insured person is not satisfied with the service level, so he's got jittery about the particular insurance company which is there, then he has the option to go and choose and port his policy. So while porting his policy, whatever sum insured he was there in his existing policy and for whatever period he was covered in the existing policy, if the new insurer accepts his proposal, so then he has to give credit for all that. So the person has a choice to go into it. It's not that he needs to continue with the same. But if he's satisfied with the service levels, then he needs to continue with the same insurer. It's always good to continue for a longer time.
All right, Shiraj. Thanks for answering that query, and I hope we were able to help you out, Neela. On that note, tell you what, we'll take a quick break, come right back. Shiraj will join us live to answer all your queries and discuss a lot more topics when it comes to health insurance and taking your health in your hands. Welcome back.
back. You're watching The Money Show, and this is our special episode on health insurance and helping you understand all the basics as well, taking up all of your health insurance related questions. And today, joining us today is Sriraj Deshpande of Future Generali India Insurance. Sriraj, let's get to our next query. It's coming from Anil Wadhwa, who says, is it better to take an accidental policy separately or mix it with term insurance as a rider? What would be your advice here, whether to keep term insurance, as a separate policy which is not related to anything else and have a separate rider? Does that make more sense, or to club them together?
No, it's always advisable to take a standalone personal accident policy. Basically, if you look at it, the sums insured or the limits of a personal accident policy are given in commensuration with your income. So every year a person's income starts increasing, so he can actually keep on increasing his sum insured. Second is the type of personal accident policies with the general insurers on standalone basis are offering now, or the specialist health insurance also are offering now, they have a lot of innovative options which have come into it, and that is why the coverage is wider, and there are more add-ons which are available which could suit the requirements of an individual. I would always advise to go in for a standalone personal accident policy. A person can keep on increasing his sum insured year-on-year basis as his income increases.
Okay, I hope we were able to answer that question for you. Meantime, we have another query which has been sent in to us by Ramesh. Well, Ramesh says, I have individual policies for my wife and child for a sum insured of about 2 lakhs each. I renewed this in January. I also have a family super top-up of 5 lakh rupees. Is this enough? And can I buy another super top-up from any other health insurer? Sriraj, what exactly would you advise? Because, one needs to understand what would be the adequate amount typically for a family of 3. What do you think you should do?
Yeah, in case of today's situation, actually 2 lakh rupees of a policy sum insured is quite low. Today every individual, of course definitely there are various factors on which it depends. First is which part of the city he lives. If he is living in major metros or major cities, you will see that the healthcare expenditure or the healthcare hospitalization costs are nearly 30-35% higher than those in the class 2 cities, etc. And secondly, it is again his affordability also, but a minimum sum insured of 5 lakh as a base policy is most recommended even for husband, wife and child. The higher that is, if a person can increase his sum insured to around 10 lakhs also, it is going to be. Today a simple case of dengue in a 28-year-old has sometimes resulted in 20 days of hospitalization, 25 days of hospitalization, incurring a cost of 13 to 15 lakhs. So it's always good to have a base policy which is higher. The very reason is when the person starts getting older, his chances of getting a higher base policy becomes lower. He is going to undergo medical tests, etc., and increasing sum insured at a later stage is also going to be. While super top-up policies are available cheaply, if the base sum insured is higher, the super top-up policies become much cheaper, which means anything above 5 lakhs. A person opts for a 2 lakh base policy, super top-up about 2 lakhs or 2 lakhs deductible. It is going to be costlier than a base policy which is higher and a super top-up which is above that. So would recommend to him that you should have at least, if not a 10 lakh base policy, have a 5 lakh base policy and then go in for a super top over that.
Alright, well, Sriraj, I have a specific question as far as one recent regulation that has come in from the insurance regulator with respect to genetic disorders, and now the fact that they cannot be included as an exclusion in any health policy, and no claim as well also can be rejected on the basis of this genetic disorders. How is this really going to have an impact on new policies going ahead? Will it increase the cost itself of health insurance for policyholders, new policyholders, and for existing policyholders? How will that change anything?
So with the new directives which have come in, for existing policy holders or existing policies, insurers will not be able to repudiate any claims. They will have to honor all claims for genetic conditions, one. And for future policies to come in, this exclusion stands deleted from the policies, and so genetic disease as such will be covered. Yes, definitely insurers will have to reprice. As the risk increases, the insurers will have to reprice their policies, and of course they have to reprice and file and get the new pricing approved. But whenever they revise the policies, they are going to reprice it, taking this into consideration, and there will be some increase in the premiums is expected.
Okay, so that's definitely some good news coming in with the IRDAI mandating that genetic disorders can no longer be excluded from the list of policies. Meantime, we have another viewer query then that has been sent in to us. We have Suresh who sent us an email. He says, my employer covers about 3 lakh in health insurance. Do I need more cover as a 36-year-old? Should I buy a separate critical illness cover? And also, what are the important exclusions under the health insurance policy? We'll come to that later. Let's address the fundamental question. Suresh is 36-year-old. He's with a company. He's getting 3 lakhs under his employer. Do you think that this sum is adequate? Would it be in his best interest to buy a separate critical illness cover?
Yeah, the worst is 3 lakh cover, 3 lakh sum insured in today's situation is actually not a sufficient sum insured. He should always get himself protected with a higher policy. First is the indemnity policy. I would say either he goes from a super top-up or he even takes a individual health policy. The basic reason which we talk about, even if your employer is covering you under the corporate health policy, it's always good to have a policy on an individual basis also. The basic reason is, one, the employer policy, the employer sum insured, terms, conditions, etc. would depend upon the employer. If the cost increases, he may reduce he may get some restrictions, or he may, allow some dependents, he may not allow dependents. So it's something which a tailor-made policy is. Second is, a person is likely to change jobs in between. So even though if his new employer is going to get a new policy for cover him under the new employer's policy, there is a break period which is possible, or somebody could actually lose a job, but at that time he stands uncovered. So it's always good to have a retail policy along with him which is covered. Second is, yes, when you talk about 3 lakh sum insured, that's today's days it's not very sufficient. You need to have minimum 5 lakhs. If you can afford it, 10 lakhs. Take a policy of higher sum insured at a younger age, because once a person gets older, it becomes difficult to increase his sum insured. Or he can go in for a top-up policy at a thing. Second, critical illness. Yes, critical illness policy, as I said, cannot actually replace indemnity, basic indemnity policy. So critical illness policy is more for loss of income. So a person, because of a critical illness, he suffers, he is actually loses his income generation capacity or reduces his income generation capacity. A critical illness product would help him. These are basically benefit products which are there.
All
so
right.
He has every detail apart from a sufficient, adequate health policy.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks very much, Sriraj, for joining in and answering all of those queries and helping our viewers out, talking about the importance of health insurance and why it's definitely a need of the hour with the rising medical costs, and one doesn't really know what is in store when it comes to their health. With that, from Avni and me and everyone that put the show together, thanks so much for watching.